The man didn't raise his voice. He didn't slam a fist. He didn't even look angry. He just leaned in slightly, eyes locked on the guy across from her, and said, quiet enough that it shouldn't have carried, stand up, walk away. Now. It hit the room like someone cut the power. Silverware stopped midair. A laugh from the bar died halfway through. Even the soft jazz felt like it backed up and apologized for existing. Mara Lang's fingers tightened around her water glass until the condensation made her palms slick. For a split second, she thought maybe she'd imagined it, like her brain had finally started hallucinating to survive the most painfully bland date of her adult life. Across from her, Blake Harrington, the one who'd insisted on ordering for her because he knows food, stared at the stranger who had just pulled a chair up to Mara's side. The chair hadn't scraped. It hadn't dragged. It had been moved with a single smooth pull, like gravity was optional for the hand that did it. The man sat without asking permission. He was the kind of big that made the room feel smaller, not just tall, built like somebody who'd been dangerous so long he didn't need to broadcast it. Dark coat, thick forearms resting on the table like it was his, posture loose, relaxed, almost bored, which somehow made him worse. He didn't glance around to see who noticed. He didn't scan for a manager, a bouncer, a witness. His attention stayed on Mara, then slowly shifted to Blake. Get up, he repeated, calm as a doctor reading a diagnosis. She's not for you. Blake blinked like his brain was buffering. Then he laughed, a thin, shaky laugh meant to paste his confidence back onto his face. Okay, cool, funny. Who the hell are you? The man didn't answer. He just looked at him again, and the temperature changed. It wasn't intimidation through anger. No shouting. No scene. It was certainty. Blake's smile faltered. He swallowed and glanced around like he expected someone, anyone, to step in and validate him. The closest server froze mid-step. The couple at the next table abruptly became fascinated with their breadbasket. The bartender stopped polishing his glass. Blake's confidence slid into embarrassment so fast it almost looked like fear. Look, Blake said, voice dropping. I'm not trying to start something. This is a misunderstanding. Mara's throat went dry. She turned to the man beside her, finally seeing his face clearly in the warm restaurant light. Sharp cheekbones, dark hair cut clean, a short beard that made him look even more controlled, a small scar near his eyebrow that tugged at something in her memory like a hook, and his eyes, brown, steady, familiar in a way that made her stomach flip and her heart do something painful and ridiculous. No, not him, not here, not now. Blake stood too fast, chair scraping loud enough to shatter the silence. Whatever, he muttered, grabbing his jacket with stiff, wounded pride. This is insane. He didn't even say goodbye to Mara. He just walked out like if he moved quickly enough, he could outrun the fact that he'd just been reduced to nothing in a room full of strangers. The moment the door shut behind him, sound returned, like the restaurant remembered how to breathe. Forks clinked again. Conversations restarted in careful, low voices. But the energy stayed altered, like everyone had witnessed something intimate they weren't supposed to see. Mara kept her eyes on the man beside her. You don't get to do that, she said, voice steady on the outside and shaking under her ribs. You don't get to decide who sits with me. He didn't flinch. You don't get to talk about me like I'm property. His gaze softened, just a fraction. Not enough to become kind, just enough to become human. I know, he said. That answer hit harder than the confrontation. Mara blinked. You know? He nodded once. Controlled, like he'd already rehearsed the admission. I shouldn't have said it like that, he added. But I meant what I meant. Mara let out a sharp laugh, more blade than humor. That doesn't make it better. I'm not trying to make it better, he said quietly. I'm trying to stop something worse. Her stomach tightened. What are you talking about? Before he could answer, a server appeared with the kind of cautious smile people use around storms. Her eyes flicked between them like she was deciding whether to call a manager or a bodyguard. Is everything all right? Yes, the man replied smoothly. The server's gaze shifted to Mara. Silent question. Mara forced a polite smile. She had spent years perfecting polite smiles. They were muscle memory, survival. Everything's fine. The server exhaled and nodded, still tense. Would you like anything else? The man didn't even glance at the menu. Bring the check, he said. For everything. Mara's jaw tightened. I can pay for my own dinner. I know, he replied immediately, like he'd expected her to say it. It's not about money. There it was again, like he knew her, like he'd always known her. Mara shoved her chair back. The sound felt too loud. She stood, grabbed her coat, pulse pounding in her ears. I'm leaving. He didn't grab her wrist, didn't block her path, didn't touch her. He just watched, patient in a way that felt more dangerous than force. I expected you would, he said. Mara froze for half a second. That voice. She had heard it in a quiet hallway at 5:30 in the morning. She had heard it over a phone call while he gave calm instructions that made grown men move faster. She had heard it inside a house that was always loud, until he entered. And then everything got quieter, like it didn't want to be the thing that bothered him. She hated herself for recognizing him instantly. Raphael Vale, the man she had tried to erase from her life, the man she had walked away from without ever telling him the truth. Mara didn't look back again. She walked out. Cold air hit her like a slap the second she stepped outside. It should have felt cleansing. It didn't. It felt like her lungs forgot how to work. She moved fast, heels tapping the sidewalk like she could outrun the ache in her chest. Behind her, a door opened. Mara. She stopped. Not because she wanted to, because her name in his mouth still did something to her body that her mind couldn't control. She turned slowly. Raphael stood under the restaurant's warm light spilling onto the street. He kept a respectful distance, several feet between them, hands in his coat pockets, shoulders relaxed, face unreadable. He didn't look angry. He didn't look smug. He looked focused. "I didn't come to do that," he said. Mara let out a bitter laugh. "You never come to do anything. You just do it." His jaw tightened slightly at that. "I didn't come to control you." "Then why did you come?" she snapped. His gaze moved over her face like he was checking for damage. Not admiring, not hunting, assessing. That alone made her throat tighten. "You shouldn't have been there tonight," he said. Mara's eyes flashed. "I can go wherever I want." "I know," he repeated. "That's why this isn't an order." "Then what is it?" she demanded. A beat. Then he said, quiet and heavy, "It's me admitting I was wrong." Mara stared at him. The words didn't match the man she remembered. For years, Raphael had been the calm center of every storm. The one person who never flinched, never reacted, never showed weakness. And now he was standing on a sidewalk, looking at her like she was the only thing in the world he couldn't control. "You don't get to rewrite the past because you suddenly feel something," she said. "I'm not trying to rewrite it," he replied. "I'm trying to understand what I ignored." Her chest tightened. She looked away, focusing on a passing car, a streetlight, anything that wasn't his face. "You let me leave," she said, softer than she meant to be. Raphael didn't speak immediately. When he did, his voice dropped lower. "I didn't think you would." Mara laughed, quiet, edged with hurt. "That's the problem. You never thought about me at all." His eyes narrowed slightly. Not in anger, pain. "I did," he said. "I just didn't realize what it meant until you were gone." Mara swallowed hard. "Do you have any idea how humiliating it is to love someone who never chooses anyone?" His expression shifted. A crack in stone. "I didn't choose anyone," he said quietly. "That part is true." Mara's laugh went sharp. "Exactly." Raphael exhaled slowly. "And I convinced myself. That made it harmless." Mara's hands trembled. She clenched her fists, furious at herself for reacting. "You were always surrounded," she said, each word precise. "Women, parties, smiles, perfume. I cleaned lipstick off glasses more times than I can count. I washed sheets that weren't mine. I heard laughter in rooms I wasn't allowed to enter." Raphael's face stayed controlled, but his eyes darkened. "And you never once asked how that felt," Mara finished. Silence stretched. Then Raphael said something that startled her more than any apology. "Tell me." Mara blinked. "What?" "Tell me," he repeated, "how it felt." Her chest tightened so hard she almost couldn't breathe. "It felt like swallowing something sharp and pretending it was normal," she said, voice low. "It felt lonely." A couple walked by and glanced at Raphael like they recognized danger, then quickly looked away. Mara barely noticed. She was pinned by him. "Why didn't you say anything?" he asked. Mara let out a small, incredulous laugh. "Because you didn't want serious with anyone. You made that clear without ever saying it out loud." His gaze held hers. "And you still stayed." Mara's mouth tightened. "I stayed because I thought maybe, if I was good enough, useful enough, quiet enough, you'd finally see me." The confession burned her cheeks because it was true. Raphael's face changed slightly, like something inside him shifted. "I was stupid," he said. Mara's heart hammered. "Don't say that." "It's true," he replied. "I was." Mara blinked hard. "I left because I couldn't keep doing that to myself." "I know," he said. Her head snapped up. "You know?" He nodded once. "You left a note." Mara's breath caught. She remembered that note. 3 sentences. Professional, clean, no emotion, no explanation. A lie disguised as dignity. "You read it," she whispered. "Yes. And you still let me go." Raphael's jaw tightened. For the first time, his control looked like effort. "I thought letting you go was respect." Mara's eyes stung. It wasn't respect. It was indifference. He flinched. Not physically, but his gaze changed like she'd struck him somewhere it actually hurt. A black car rolled up to the curb and stopped without drama. The driver didn't get out, didn't speak, just waited. Mara noticed and felt her stomach twist. "Of course," she muttered. "You didn't come alone." Raphael followed her gaze. "No, you can't even stand on a sidewalk like a normal person," she said. A flicker of dry humor touched his eyes. Normal is overrated. Mara almost laughed and hated herself for it. "I'm not here to drag you back," he said. "I'm not here to force anything." "Then what do you want?" Raphael's gaze stayed locked on hers. "A chance to speak to you without walls between us. You never wanted that before." "I didn't understand what I was losing," he said. "And now I do." Mara should have walked away. She'd practiced walking away for months. But her body still remembered him like a bruise you keep pressing just to prove it still hurts. "I'm not going back to that life," she said. "I'm not asking you to," Raphael replied immediately. "I'm asking you to let me make sure you get to your car safely. I can walk." He didn't argue. He only said, "Then I'll walk behind you, far enough that you won't feel trapped, close enough that you won't be alone." Mara stared at him, searching for manipulation. She didn't see it. That scared her more than anything. So she turned and started walking. Footsteps followed. Steady, unhurried. A few paces back. Exactly as promised. At her car, Mara reached for the handle and paused. "You didn't answer my question," she said without turning. "Which one?" "Why now?" she said. "Why tonight?" Silence. Then Raphael answered, simple. No speech. No excuse. "Because I saw you smiling at him," he said. "And for the first time it felt real that I might never hear your voice in my house again." Mara's hand tightened on the handle. "You don't get to be jealous." "I know," he said again. She turned slowly, facing him fully. His expression stayed controlled, but his eyes weren't cold. They were heavy, intent, regret, sitting there like a weight. "I'm not asking you to forgive me tonight," Raphael said. "I'm asking you not to disappear before I can make it right." Mara swallowed, throat burning. "I don't trust you." He nodded once. "You shouldn't. Not yet." Mara blinked, thrown by how little he pushed. "But you can trust this," he added. "I won't embarrass you again. Not like that." Mara's lips parted. "You call that embarrassing?" A flicker of almost smile touched his mouth. "Almost nothing." "The room did," he said. Mara hated that it cracked something in her anger. She got into her car and locked the door out of reflex. Through the window, she watched him stand there, unmoving, like he had nowhere else to be. Her phone buzzed with a text from her friend. "How's the date?" Mara stared at the screen, then looked back at Raphael. This wasn't a date anymore. This was the past catching up. And as she started the engine, she realized what scared her most. She wasn't only afraid he'd hurt her again, she was afraid of believing him. Because if Raphael Vale truly wanted her now, why did he let her walk away in the first place? The city blurred past her windshield in red and white streaks. Her mind replayed the night on a loop. His voice, his restraint, the way he'd kept distance and still felt like a wall behind her. At home, she sat in her parked car longer than necessary, hands still on the steering wheel like it was the only thing holding her together. When she finally went inside, the quiet of her apartment hit her like an accusation, and her memory, cruel, perfect, dragged her back to the last morning in his house, 3 months earlier. The Vale estate never slept. Even before sunrise, there was motion, security shifts changing, staff whispering down hallways, the hum of a place that operated on a different rhythm than the world outside its gates. Mara moved quietly, like she always did. Soft flats, hair pinned back, sleeves rolled just enough to work. She knew the house better than most people who lived in it. She knew which floorboards creaked, which doors needed a gentle push, which rooms were off limits, not by rule, but by Raphael's preference for silence. She had learned him without meaning to. Raphael liked his coffee black, strong, in the same mug every morning. One small chip on the handle. He pretended not to notice details like that. Mara noticed everything. She passed through the living room, straightening a cushion that didn't need it, aligning a magazine he'd never read. It wasn't about perfection. It was about order, keeping the world calm around a man who carried enough chaos already. She reached his office door and paused. It was half open. Light spilled into the hallway. His voice drifted out, low, controlled, on the phone. "No," Raphael said calmly. "That doesn't work." Mara waited, eyes on the floor, heart doing that familiar, painful thing it did when she heard him before she saw him. "Yes," he continued. "Move the meeting, and don't argue with me again." A pause, then quieter. "I don't repeat myself." The call ended. Mara took a breath and knocked lightly. "Come in," Raphael said. She stepped inside. Dark wood, clean lines, the scent of leather and coffee. Raphael stood near his desk, jacket already on, sleeves rolled up, power contained in the way he held still. He turned toward her. "Morning?" "Good morning," Mara replied, moving to the machine. "Your coffee is ready." "Thank you." 2 words. Calm, neutral. And still her chest tightened every time like she'd been branded. She handed him the mug. Their fingers brushed for half a second. Mara felt it like a spark. Raphael didn't react. Or if he did, he hit it better than she ever could. He took a sip, nodded once. Perfect. That word should have been nothing. It never was. Mara busied herself wiping a surface that didn't need wiping. She stayed a moment longer than necessary, because leaving meant returning to the reality where she felt invisible. "You have guests later," she said. "I know. This afternoon, several." "I know." She didn't ask who. She already knew. There were always women, different perfume, different laughter, different lipstick, same outcome. They came dressed too well, laughing too loud, leaving behind traces of themselves that Mara cleaned up like evidence. Raphael never brought the same woman twice, and that should have told her everything. "You'll be out late," Mara said softly. "Yes." No explanation, no apology. Mara nodded. "I'll make sure everything's ready." Raphael studied her a second longer than usual, like he was about to say something. Then his phone buzzed. The moment died. He turned away, grabbed his coat, and left the office with the same quiet authority he brought into every room. Something inside Mara cracked a little more. That night, the house transformed the way it always did. Music, laughter, expensive glasses, the soft chaos of people who never worried about consequences. Mara moved around the edges, invisible and essential, collecting empties, wiping counters, returning order behind disorder. She heard Raphael's voice occasionally, calm, amused, never directed at her the way she secretly wanted. At one point, she walked past the living room and froze. Raphael stood there surrounded by people. A woman pressed close to his side, beautiful, confident, laughing at something he said. Her hand rested lightly on his arm. Raphael didn't pull away. Mara's chest tightened so painfully she had to step back, gripping the hallway wall to keep her balance. That was the moment she stopped lying to herself. Nothing would change. Not because she wasn't worthy, because he didn't choose. He never did. Later, after the last guest left and the house settled into its late-night hush, Mara sat alone in her small room at the back of the property and stared at the wall for a long time. Then she opened her notebook. She didn't write about love. She didn't write about pain. She wrote professional, clean, careful. "Mr. Vale, thank you for the opportunity. I am resigning effective immediately. I wish you well." 3 sentences. No explanation, no emotion. A lie disguised as dignity. She folded it neatly and placed it on his desk. Then she packed her bag. When she walked out of the estate that night, she didn't look back, because she knew if she did, she wouldn't leave. Back in the present, in her apartment, Mara's phone buzzed. Unknown number. "I won't come near you again unless you ask me to, but I needed you to know I read the note." Mara's breath caught. Another message appeared seconds later. "I should have stopped you. I didn't know how." Mara pressed the phone to her chest like it could hold her together. Anger, relief, sadness, longing, hope, sharp enough to scare her. Because if Raphael Vale had finally realized what he lost, the hardest part wasn't leaving him. It was deciding whether she was brave enough to let him try again. Raphael Vale noticed the silence first. Not the obvious kind, the absence of music or voices. The subtle kind. The kind that creeps into a room after someone essential leaves and takes the rhythm with them. The estate still ran smoothly. Staff still arrived on time. Security still rotated with precision. Meetings still happened. Money still moved. The world still did what it was told. Everything worked. And yet, something felt wrong. It took Raphael 2 days to identify what it was. His coffee was too hot. Not burned, not weak, not incorrect. Just wrong. He stood alone in the kitchen early one morning, mug in hand, staring at the surface like it might explain itself. The cup was clean. The coffee was strong. It should have been fine. But Mara always waited exactly long enough before handing it to him, long enough to cool without losing its edge. Raphael drank it anyway, annoyed at himself for noticing. He tried to ignore the resignation note too. He put it in a drawer like it was nothing. 3 sentences, neat handwriting, no emotion, no accusation, professional restraint. It should have made his life easier. Instead, it unsettled him, because anger would have meant she still cared enough to fight. Restraint meant she had already finished grieving. It meant she had already accepted that he wasn't going to change. He told himself people left all the time. That was true. But he didn't reread other people's goodbye notes at 2 a.m. like they were puzzles. He started noticing the smallest fractures. Rooms were tidy but felt unfinished, like the final touch never happened. Schedules ran on time but felt heavier, like the house moved without a soul inside it. After parties, laughter echoed longer than it should have, because there was no quiet presence collecting the mess before it became evidence. Women still came and went. That didn't change, but Raphael found himself sending them away sooner, ending evenings early, losing interest in conversations that used to be easy. He told himself it was work. It wasn't. One night, long after the last guest left, Raphael stood alone in the living room and stared at a table full of half-finished drinks. He picked up one glass and frowned, a smear of lipstick on the rim. Mara would have noticed. She would have removed it before it reached the sink, before it ever existed long enough to bother him. Raphael set the glass down harder than necessary. He didn't like not understanding his own reactions. So he did what he always did when something threatened control. He gathered information. He asked questions that didn't sound like questions. She quit? He asked one of the senior staff, tone neutral. Yes, sir. Without notice. Yes. She left a note. I know. A pause. She was very professional, the staff member added, unsure if that was useful. Raphael nodded once. She always was. That night he opened the drawer, pulled out the note, and read it again. 3 sentences. Clean. Final. Not once did she ask him to chase her. Not once did she try to guilt him. And that, more than anything, made him feel like he'd failed a test he didn't know he was taking. Weeks passed. He didn't go looking for her right away. That would have meant admitting something he wasn't ready to name. Instead, he watched the city swallow his routine. Meetings, events, deals, the endless, polished motion of power. And then he saw her. Not in his house, not in a hallway, in the real world. It happened by accident. Raphael was leaving a private lunch when his driver slowed slightly at an intersection. There, the driver said quietly. Isn't that? Raphael looked. Mara stood on the sidewalk with her phone pressed to her ear, laughing. Actually laughing. Not the polite smile she used in the house. Not the controlled calm she wore like armor. A real laugh that lifted her whole face. She looked lighter, freer. And something inside Raphael tightened. He didn't tell the driver to stop. He didn't wave. Didn't call her name. He just watched her finish her call and walk away, blending into the city like she had never belonged to his world at all. That night, he didn't sleep. The decision to observe her wasn't impulsive. It wasn't about ownership or pride. It was about understanding. He gave his security team instructions with surgical clarity. No interference, no contact, no intimidation, no presence she can detect. One of them raised an eyebrow. Just observation? Yes, Raphael said. He told himself it was safety. That wasn't entirely a lie, but it wasn't the full truth either. The truth was simple and far more dangerous. He missed her. Mara's new life was smaller. A modest apartment, a job at a design firm, friends who met her for dinner without needing permission, walks at night where she didn't look over her shoulder like she belonged to someone else's schedule. She smiled more. That made him feel sick in a way he couldn't explain, because it meant her freedom was real, and her absence from him was not temporary. Then he saw the man, a clean-cut guy in a nice coat who picked her up one evening. Mara hesitated before getting in the car. She sat angled toward the window, not fully turned toward him. Her smile looked practiced. Raphael recognized it. That wasn't joy. That was endurance. And jealousy hit him. Sharp, unfamiliar, humiliating. He had never wanted anyone this way. Wanting meant vulnerability. Vulnerability had a cost. So he told himself he wouldn't interfere. He told himself it wasn't his place. Then came the restaurant. Raphael knew she'd be there. He'd seen a message pop up on her phone earlier in the day while his team reviewed her schedule for safety. Boring date tonight. He told himself not to go. He went anyway. Only to look. Only to confirm she was fine. Then he saw her across the room. Saw the polite smile. The forced nods. The way she held her body like she was bracing for something. And something inside him snapped. Not violently, not dramatically, decisively. He pulled up the chair. He said the words. And the moment they left his mouth, he knew there was no undoing it. Outside later, watching her walk toward her car, Raphael felt the weight of everything he'd ignored finally settle. When she told him she had loved him alone, it hit him like a bruise becoming a fracture. Because he realized a truth too late. Mara never wanted his money. She never wanted the status. She wanted the simplest thing, his choice. And he had been too busy refusing to choose anyone to understand that refusing was still a choice. That night, after she drove away, Raphael stood under the streetlight and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Fear. Not fear of enemies. Fear of losing the only person who had ever looked at him like he was human, The next day, he sent one message. No pressure, no demand, just a request. If you're willing, I'd like to talk somewhere public, somewhere neutral. 1 hour, your rules. Her reply came later than he wanted. 1 hour. That was it. Raphael chose a quiet restaurant. Small, warm, no spectacle. He arrived early. He didn't bring a convoy. Only one car nearby, far enough to be invisible, close enough to be responsible. When Mara walked in, his chest tightened again. She looked beautiful, yes, but more than that. She looked guarded, like she'd learned from him. Their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them. History, caution, a question neither of them wanted to ask out loud. He didn't rush her. He didn't stand too close. He waited for her to sit first, then took the chair across from her. "Thank you for coming," he said. "You asked," she replied. He nodded. Fair. They ordered drinks. She chose wine. He followed her lead. That alone made her eyebrow lift. "You're letting someone else decide?" "I'm learning," he said. The words tasted strange, but true. Mara leaned back slightly, gaze sharp. Why now? Raphael didn't try to dress it up. "Because I confused silence with stability," he said. "I told myself if I didn't create problems, I wasn't causing harm. I didn't see that absence can be loud." Her fingers tightened around her glass. "That took you long enough," she murmured. "I know," he replied, and meant it without defense. "I don't expect it to fix anything." She nodded once. "Good." They talked. Small at first. Her job, his schedule, neutral ground. Then the old truths crept in. "You followed me," she said, eyes steady. "Yes." "How long?" Raphael held her gaze. "Long enough to miss you." The honesty disarmed her. She looked away for a beat like she needed air. "I didn't leave to punish you," she said. "I know. I left because staying hurt. I know. And I won't stay again if it's the same." "It won't be," Raphael said. "That's a promise?" He shook his head slightly. "A commitment. There's a difference." "A promise is words," she said. "A commitment is behavior," he replied. Mara stared at him like she was measuring whether the man across from her was real. "Then show me," she said. Raphael nodded once. "That's why I asked for an hour. Not to convince you. To start proving it." When the hour ended, Raphael didn't ask her to stay. He didn't accidentally linger. He didn't apply pressure disguised as romance. He simply stood when she stood and offered, "May I walk you to your car?" She narrowed her eyes. "I can handle myself." "I know," he said. "Let me walk anyway." Outside, the air was cool. The city hummed. They walked side by side, close enough to feel real, far enough to feel safe. At her car, she stopped and turned to him. "This doesn't mean I trust you," she said. "I know," Raphael replied. "It means I'm willing to see if I can." His chest loosened like he'd been holding a breath for months. "That's enough," he said quietly. "For now." Mara hesitated. "Why did you read the note so many times?" Raphael didn't look away. "Because I was searching for something you didn't write," he said. Her throat tightened. "What?" "The part where you tell me you're done forever," he replied. "You never did." Mara's eyes flashed with something raw. "I didn't know if I could mean it," she admitted. Raphael stepped closer, one careful inch, then stopped. "Neither did I," he said. The moment stretched, charged, and fragile. Mara opened her door, paused. "This is your only chance to do this right," she said softly. Raphael nodded. "I intend to." She drove away. And for the first time in months, Raphael didn't feel like he was losing control. He felt like he'd finally started earning something he didn't deserve. The next day, he sent one message. "I hope your day was kind to you." No question. No demand. Hours later, her reply came. "Thank you." Raphael stared at it longer than he should have. Then he typed back carefully. "May I take you to dinner tomorrow? Same rules. Your pace." Her answer made something inside him go still. One condition. No expensive places. Raphael actually smiled. Deal. Mara didn't answer right away. Not because she wanted to punish him, and not because she wanted him to chase her. Because for the first time in a long time, she wanted to sit inside her feelings without immediately obeying them. She went to work. She chose fabrics. She measured a client's living room twice because her mind kept slipping sideways into the memory of Raphael's voice saying, "I was wrong." Her phone stayed quiet. No floods of messages. No pressure disguised as romance. Just one line later that evening. "Would you be willing to come to my house for dinner? No staff, no guests, just us. And you leave whenever you want." Mara stared at the message until her chest ached. His house wasn't just a building. It was a symbol. It was where she learned to love someone who never chose anyone. It was where she learned to be quiet enough to survive. It was where she left a note because words felt safer than tears. She typed back slowly, "Your house is loaded." His reply came almost immediately. "I know. That's why I'm asking, not assuming." Mara swallowed. "Okay," she typed. "But I leave when I want. Always," he replied. That single word made her pulse spike because it was the word she had begged for without ever speaking it. Control. Not his, hers. When she arrived, the driveway was empty. No obvious security shifts. No line of black cars. No silent movement behind tinted windows. Just one soft light on inside the house like someone had intentionally made it feel human. Raphael opened the door himself. Not in a suit. No sharp tailoring. No armor. Dark jeans. A plain black sweater. Sleeves pushed up like he'd been doing something real. He didn't step forward. He didn't pull her into the house. He simply held the door and said, "Hi." Mara blinked, caught off guard by how normal it sounded. "Hi," she replied. For a moment, they just looked at each other, like they both knew this was a step that couldn't be undone. Then Raphael stepped aside. "Come in." Mara crossed the threshold slowly, half expecting the old tension to snap back onto her bones. It didn't. The house was still elegant, still expensive, still controlled, but different, warmer. The smell hit her first. Food, citrus, something clean and real. "You cooked," she said, disbelief slipping out. Raphael's mouth twitched. "I had help." Mara exhaled a laugh. "That's more believable." He let out a low, quiet laugh like he was relieved she was teasing instead of bleeding. They didn't eat in the formal dining room. Raphael led her to the kitchen island like he'd deliberately chosen the place that felt least like a throne. 2 plates, 2 glasses, soft lighting, no staff moving silently in the background like ghosts. Mara sat. Raphael sat across from her. Not beside her, not too close. Space. Respect. It made her throat tight because she realized how rare it was. Dinner was simple and good. Not flashy, not performative. Between bites, they talked. About her clients. About the way people think rearranging a room will rearrange their life. About his day. Short, honest answers with none of the usual cold polish. "You're different," Mara said finally, watching him. Raphael didn't pretend to misunderstand. "I'm trying." "Why?" she asked, blunt. "Because you're lonely?" Raphael's gaze didn't waver. "Because I was wrong." Mara's chest tightened. "You keep saying that like it's easy." "It isn't," he said quietly. "It's just necessary." Her fingers traced the edge of her glass. "You never apologized before." "I know. Why now?" Raphael leaned back slightly, eyes on hers. "Because when you left, the house still worked. The money still moved. Everyone still did their job. But my life felt hollow. And I realized I had built a world that functioned without me being in it." Mara swallowed. "That's not romantic," she said, voice rough. "It's true," he replied. Silence stretched, then softened. Mara stood to bring her plate to the sink. A reflex. Old habit. Raphael was immediately on his feet, moving calmly to stop her. Not by force, but by taking the plate from her hands. "You don't work here," he said quietly. Mara blinked. The words hit her like a small mercy. I wasn't," she started. "I know what you did," he said, gentle but steady. "I know what I allowed." That made her eyes burn. They moved to the living room after dinner. Softer couch, lower lights. A world that felt too quiet for the history inside it. Raphael sat across from her again at first, leaving distance like a promise. Mara curled her legs beneath her, comfort slipping in before she could stop it. "I should tell you something," Raphael said. Mara's stomach tightened. "Okay. I don't want you to think I changed overnight," he said. "I didn't. I know," she replied. "But I did see something," he continued. "And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it." Mara waited. "When you were in my house," he said slowly, "you were the only person who looked at me like I was just a man, not a weapon, not a paycheck, not a rumor." Mara's breath caught. "You saw me when I wasn't performing," Raphael said, "and I didn't understand how rare that was." Mara looked down at her hands. "I didn't want to see you like that," she admitted. "It hurt too much." "I know," he said softly. Mara swallowed. "You let me fall in love with you alone." Raphael didn't deny it. That alone was a kind of apology. "I didn't realize," he said. "And by the time I understood, I didn't know how to fix it without making it worse." "That doesn't make it hurt less," Mara whispered. "I know," he replied again, steady, accepting the damage instead of arguing with it. A long silence. Then Mara asked the question that had lived under her tongue for years. "Why didn't you want anything real with anyone?" Raphael stared at the fireplace like it might offer cover. "Because real means loss," he said finally. "Eventually." Mara shook her head. That's not fair. It's not, he admitted. But it's what I learned. He told her pieces. No dramatic monologue, no pity play. A family that treated love like leverage. A childhood that taught him attachment was a weakness enemies could exploit. People disappearing. Consequences. Fear disguised as discipline. So you avoided it? Mara said. Yes. And the women? She asked softly. Raphael's jaw tightened. They were safe. Temporary. No expectations beyond the moment. Mara's chest tightened. And I wasn't. No, he said. You weren't. Something in the air shifted. Mara reached out slowly, placing her hand on his forearm. Raphael went still, letting her decide. I'm scared, she admitted. So am I, he said. Mara blinked. You? Raphael's eyes held hers. Because this matters. That sentence, simple, naked, hit her harder than any grand speech ever could. You're not very comforting, she said, trying to breathe around it. Raphael's mouth twitched. I'm honest. Mara let out a small laugh, thick with emotion. He moved closer slowly, an inch, then another, watching her face like she was the only permission he needed. His hand hovered near her waist, not touching until she nodded without words. When his palm finally settled against her, it was warm, careful, steady. Mara leaned into him like her body had been holding its breath for months. This is dangerous, she murmured against his chest. It should be, Raphael said quietly. It's real. Mara lifted her face. Their eyes locked. The moment stretched, fragile, electric. If you tell me to stop, Raphael said, voice low. I will. Mara swallowed. Not tonight, she whispered. But slow. Raphael nodded immediately. Always. Mara kissed him first. Not desperate, not rushed, deliberate. A kiss that said, I'm choosing to be here. When they parted, Raphael rested his forehead to hers. I don't regret leaving, Mara said, voice shaking. I wouldn't want you to, he replied. It saved you. The words cracked something in her chest. Outside, the city moved like it always did. Loud, careless, alive. Inside, something steady formed between them. Not a promise, not a fantasy, a commitment. In the weeks that followed, Raphael didn't change with speeches. He changed with consistency. He didn't flood her phone. He didn't guilt her into closeness. He asked. He waited. He showed up when he said he would. He left when she said she needed space. He stopped bringing random people around just to feel silent. When someone tried to push into his time, he said no. When asked why, his answer was simple. I have someone I'm building with. Mara heard that from someone else first and laughed, then had to blink hard because it made her want to cry. You're impossible, she told him later. Raphael's eyes softened. I'm committed. She liked that word better. Slowly, she started leaving things at his house. A toothbrush first, then a sweater, then a drawer that became hers. Raphael never rushed her, never teased, never claimed. He acted like her comfort was the prize, not her presence. Months later, on a quiet night, Raphael took her back to the same restaurant. Mara froze outside the door, memory flashing like heat. That's cruel, she said, half joking, half serious. Raphael shook his head. We don't have to go in. Mara studied him, then exhaled. No, she said. We go in. We rewrite it the right way. Inside, nothing stopped. No heads turned. No silence fell. No moment bent itself around them. They were just another couple stepping into warm light and quiet conversation. Another reservation honored. Another table waiting. Mara felt her shoulders loosen as they were seated near the window. Not the exact table, but close enough that the memory stirred without overwhelming her. She sat down, exhaling softly. Raphael watched her carefully. Too much? She shook her head. No, just strange. In a bad way? In a finished way, she said. That made his mouth curve. Not smug, not triumphant. Relieved. They ordered simply. No show, no posturing. Raphael didn't dominate the interaction or retreat into silence. He let her speak first. He followed her lead. It was subtle, but Mara noticed everything. Halfway through the meal, she laughed. Really laughed. At something small and ridiculous he said about a disastrous meeting involving an unmuted microphone and an accidental confession. The sound surprised her. Raphael froze for half a second, eyes softening like he was afraid the moment might vanish if he moved. You don't do that often, he said quietly. What? That laugh, he said. You didn't used to. Mara paused. I didn't feel safe enough to. He absorbed that without flinching. I want to be someone you feel safe laughing with, he said. You are, she replied, then blinked. I mean, right now, you are. That mattered more than promises. Later, as they waited for dessert, Mara noticed the chair. The same kind, same curve, same weight. Without saying anything, she stood, dragged it an inch closer to Raphael's, then sat again. Raphael stared at her, something unreadable crossing his face. "What?" she asked lightly. "You chose it," he said. She smiled. "That's the point." He reached across the table then, not tentatively, not cautiously, and took her hand. Open, visible, certain, no fear of witnesses, no retreat. Mara squeezed his fingers. "I didn't come back because you interrupted my date," she said. "I know. I came back because you changed how you stood behind me," she continued, not claiming, protecting. His thumb brushed her knuckle once. "I learned the difference." When they left the restaurant, the city didn't feel charged with tension. It felt ordinary, alive, forgiving. Weeks passed, then months, and Raphael didn't change in dramatic gestures. He changed in repetition. He showed up when he said he would. He listened when she spoke. He stopped filling silence with noise. When people asked where he'd been, he didn't explain. He just said, busy building something that didn't require armor. Mara moved in slowly, not because he asked, but because she wanted to. A drawer, a shelf, a corner that became hers. One night, while cooking together, Raphael stood behind her, arms loose around her waist. No pressure, no expectation. "You know," he said softly, "I used to think choosing meant losing control." Mara turned in his arms. "And now? Now I know choosing is the only way to keep what matters." She kissed him then, not tentative, not cautious, certain. A year later, they returned to the restaurant again. Same lighting, same menu, same hum of quiet wealth. But this time, nothing felt sharp. Mara sat across from Raphael, their fingers intertwined openly on the table. "Do you ever think about that night?" she asked. "All the time," he admitted. "You were dramatic," she teased. "I panicked. You said, 'She's mine.'" He nodded slowly. "I was wrong," she smiled. "You were never claiming me." "No," he said. "You chose me." That was the difference. The world hadn't stopped that first night. It hadn't bowed or shifted or broken. It had simply adjusted. Mara once walked away to save herself. Now she stayed. Not because she was claimed, not because she was needed, but because she was chosen, every single day.